house heater saga continues, and it shows no sign of concluding anytime soon. The clip, which immediately follows this one listed on YouTube, was actually filmed before this clip. I've decided to make this clip available first because it better explains some of the things that you will see and hear in the clip that follows. So, the heater I'm talking about is buried in this corner here. You have the hot water heater on this side, and you have a wall on this side. Now, I'm not a big guy, but I could barely squeeze myself in between the two of them. Meaning the hot water heater on this side and the wall on this side. As if all of that's not bad enough. The pilot that we all were trying to get to is located at the very bottom of the heater, inside the heater. So then the question became, how are we going to best get to it? So what I'm noticing is two valves towards the rear. There's one up high, and then there's another one down low. Which one is which? I have no idea. Also, towards the end, towards the rear, towards the rear of the heater is a gauge. And it looks like it's a valve in this area here. Doesn't really give a lot of information. Okay, I just opened up that lower valve and water came out. So that drains water from somewhere. And then I noticed coming up this copper pipe here, there's a valve. The upper valve and the lower valve are connected to the same pipe. Yeah, this is definitely a cramped area back here. I can only assume that the upper valve is the one that feeds the heater itself, and that the lower valve drains the heater. So that's the assumption I'm going to make. I think what I'll do is give myself a little bit of breathing room. This is a solid wall. It's going to take a lot to get it moved, get it taken down. But there's a section in the wall that's loose fitting, and it should come down relatively easy. So what I'm going to do is move the stuff that's in front of it out of the way and pull this off. Now this is going to create some confusion because in the clip that's going to be following this one on YouTube, which was filmed before this section is going to miraculously reappear. So just explaining that ahead of time for the sake of myself. For right now, what I'm doing, I'm going to take this section down. I wish I thought about removing that wall earlier, as it really would have made life a lot simpler and easier for us in the sequence next clip that's going to follow this one. As you can clearly see, but I was trying to squeeze myself in between the wall and the heater to describe just moments ago. This is the top part of the heater. I'm not sure. I think this is what it's called, the smokestack. This is the gauge I was talking about And this is the valve next to the gauge. And you have another valve up here. And like I was saying before, this is the same pipe that goes all the way down to the other valve. That other valve is shown down here, and that was the one that I had turned on. So now that I could see things a little bit more clearly, I see a line coming out here. This is on the top of the heater. This is a gauge, this is a valve. This is what I'm going to call a smokestack for right now, until I find out what it's really called. And then you have a line down here, and that line comes up. Part of it goes to this valve here that drains the water, and I have a couple of lines that divide from it, and they go up. So, this is like really out of my league, so I can't really say what it is I'm looking at. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go along here. So what had happened before was there was an inability for me to be able to film what I was doing down there, as well as shine a light to show the viewing audience exactly what area the pilot apparatus was located at. So now that I got a little bit more room, I'm going to attempt to put the camera down to the area and I believe that part right there in the center of the screen, hopefully it's in focus. Yeah, so that would be where the pilot apparatus locates. And as you see, there are two lines. One is this line here, and the other one is this line here. So this line and this line. This line here is called the thermostat. Don't ask me why they call it that. They just do. Yeah. And both of those lines terminate in that area. Right where I'm showing. And at the top part is where the pilot apparatus is located at. There are several different types of residential heating systems, a common one being gas heating. Other types are found in older cities like Philadelphia, such as oil heating. The less popular types are steam heating and water heating. My house uses a water heating system. Water entering the residence comes into the heater. It continues entering into the heater until it reaches a certain level. Note, in order for a water heating system to operate properly, it must contain an adequate amount of water, which may seem like a no-brainer, but as you will see before this series of house heating clips are concluded, the water level inside the heater is called into question. Once the water rises to the appropriate level, assuming the burners are working properly, the fire below it heats the water. This heated water is transferred via piping to each room in the house. Also note that there is another pipe connected to the heater as well, which is where the cooled water returns from various locations throughout the house so that it can be reheated again for circulation. But in order to keep this discussion as simple as possible, I won't talk about the return water lines wherever it can be avoided. This is the layout of my heating elements, the heating elements being the radiators. My house consists of 3 floors. In the basement is where the heater itself is located. On the first floor there is the kitchen. The kitchen contains a radiator. Also on the first floor is the dining room, which contains a radiator too. Then there is the second floor. It contains a radiator in the front larger bedroom. There is a radiator in the middle smaller bedroom as well, and also a radiator in the bathroom. As you can see, there are 5 radiators in all, but this was the arrangement of the heating elements when I first moved into the house. This kitchen radiator is no longer in the kitchen. It has been disconnected and moved out into the backyard for eventual disposal. Its previous location will be discussed in the upcoming clip after this. Also, keep an eye on this bathroom radiator as well, because it will come up too. The radiators which won't be talked about as much during this particular sequence of clips will be these 3 here. There are multiple pipes which connect the heater with each of the radiators mentioned. I'm not going to diagram for you each of the connections from the heater to each radiator, because that would be too much work for me to draw out. If you are following along with everything covered up to now, you will understand as much without the visual diagram detailed. However, I will say this, which will be an important part in how certain things will not go right in the next clip, which is that a water heating system is a closed system. At no point should there be a pipe disconnected or cut anywhere in the system, because it will affect the overall ability of the system to operate at all.